Hey, what's up, guys? Here we are again, back at the ROC HQ with your buddies here, Mike Bell, Ryan Gass, just making that magic happen, man. I got the feeling today, Ryan. Like, I'm feeling special. What about you, man?
I'm in definitely my groove, man. I listened to freaking episode 3 earlier, and I am hyped. Man,
I'm telling you, like, we went to the gas station real quick before the episode, and I walk out of the gas station, and Ryan's got the ROC episode 3 talking trash about Tom Brady and the stimulus bill and all that shit. And the intro music was playing when I was walking out, man. I straight up had like the freaking, I was just dancing in the parking lot, man. I was just losing my mind.
Going night at the Roxbury.
That's what it was. We had the head tilt and everything, man. But I'm telling you guys, we are so happy to be back. We love this. We love what we do. And what we love most is connecting with you guys. So the only way that that's going to happen is if you're engaging with us out there on the socials. So like Ryan said many times, get on MeWe, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, get everywhere where you can find us at and start talking, because we want to talk to you guys. And to do that, all you got to do, it's easy. You just search at ROC Podcast Nation. Like anywhere you go, you're going to be able to find us with that. And I'm sure you've seen us spamming your freaking Facebook feed or your Instagram feed, because guess what, guys? We have this voice, we have this message, and we want to get it out there.
You may not see us, though, on social media spamming you, because social media has been censoring our freedom of speech.
Oh, my God. And legit, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, guys. And if you haven't caught the gist of it yet, right, this is about climbing those rocks, right? And so what rock we climbing today, buddy?
The social media censoring. That rock is pretty fucking big.
Oh, my gosh, man. And it's like, a lot of people listening right now, Ryan, they didn't grow up in the world of social media. I didn't. When I grew up, man, our social media was like you had you could literally walk out your door out there in Arizona and like do like a bird call whistle, and half the neighborhood kids would show up at your house, and that was social media, right? Yeah. And as we got older and before you know it, it's like, early 2000s, and MySpace is out, and then Facebook came out and all this other shit, and it's just like this whole shift.
Yeah. Do you remember, were you ever doing, was it Yahoo Messenger or AIM Messenger, and you had the little groups you could message inside them, and you got fucking people sending you pictures and stuff? And
yeah, that is, okay, so that dates me a little bit older than you. So that AIM, that AOL Instant Messenger, all that stuff, that came out as I was kind of coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Right. So no, I never used that stuff, but my younger brothers and sisters did. You did, obviously, and that's kind of that generation. And now it's like you got social media everywhere. You've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The kids nowadays are using Snapchat, TikTok, all this stuff. It's like it's everywhere, man, and that's dangerous.
Yeah.
It used to be you'd pick up a newspaper, or you'd read an article in a magazine or something. I mean, I'm not that far removed from my parents having magazines sitting on the table, right? Or when you go to take a shit, there was a magazine sitting there. Do you remember? Hey, raise your hand. And if you're listening right now, drop down into those comments, especially if you're on YouTube, drop in those comments and tell us if you remember taking a shit without your phone in your hand. Can you? Like, I can't. That's
Those
crazy.
must have been pretty lonely shits.
You know how many times, like, I bet you there was a time I probably could have recited to you what was on the back of a shampoo bottle.
Yeah.
Because you get in there, man, it's like,
nothing to do.
Yeah, and then, Reader's Digest was huge. Well, all of that has transitioned into social media.
Yeah.
And statistics show that a very large percentage, and I can't give you the percentage right now because everybody says something different.
Yeah.
But statistics show that most people get their news from social media.
Yeah.
Most people hear about what they're saying on Fox News, or they're saying on CNBC or CNN or, ONN or any of those other things. They see that, well, not ONN because you can't find those guys really anymore, but you see what they're saying on Facebook. You really don't see it on the television because most people aren't watching TV, or if they are, it's on the background. And as we get out of like my generation, I'm, late 30s, the younger crowds, they're not even watching TV anymore. Really, they're watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And so all of those things can be considered social media.
Yeah.
And when social media is essentially the sole source for news for an entire global community, you know, what are you going to do if somebody decides that they don't want a certain expression or a certain thought or a certain behavior or a certain attitude or, for God's sakes, a certain political affiliation on a certain platform? Then we start talking about censoring. And then that is when things get dangerous, right, Ryan? And I know that you can talk about this a little bit. So why don't you go ahead and...
So, yeah, I can speak about this for days. And so the angle that I'm coming from is, in my frustrations, is as a business owner. So I started my business in late 2014. I went full time doing my business in February of 15. And in the beginning, getting the word out about my new business and selling my service and filling up classes, that was largely done with Facebook. Facebook, man, I used to swear by it. It was life-changing. It really was. Like, I would, sometimes I'd post a class on our Facebook page, and by the morning, I remember one time, we started doing the women-only handgun classes, and I posted about a class, I added to the website, and then I posted about it on the website, on our Facebook, and I'm not even playing. I remember this distinctly. I'd done it right before I went to bed, added to the website, put it on Facebook, went to bed. I woke up the next morning, and the class was sold out. Sold out. And I had to hurry up and actually scramble out of bed as soon as I realized I had to scramble, because I didn't have it set on my website so that it would stop selling after it sold a certain amount. It would just sell until I told it to stop. And I honestly oversold it. And I had to hurry and get out of bed and get that shit taken off the website before I, had to make some, phone calls and some apologies. So it was, and that happened for a while. That happened for like 16 and 17 were the crazy years for social media for me. So 2018 was when the shadow ban started. Even in 17 was still a good year for social media for me, for Facebook at least. Facebook, I used to knock it out of the park. In 17, I remember I would post these women-only classes we were doing, and I would post them, and I had people that would follow my page, and they would actually get our updates. Like, whenever I would post something, and actually show up in their notifications. And if I posted a women's only class, that thing would go like wildfire. When you would post it and it has all the details and all that good stuff, you also have people that would say whether they're going, whether they're maybe or not going. You'd have comments and stuff. I'd have comments on an event page well into the hundreds. No shit. It was crazy. But I had, I think the most I ever had was 12,000 people clicked that they were going to an event. Now, obviously, 12,000 people didn't go to an event. The only people that go to the events are those who are paid and registered on our website. They're the only ones I found out the actual address of the classes. But, 12,000 people, took the time out of their day, were so interested in our events because of what they saw on social media. 12,000 people clicked that they were going.
So I remember back in the day, and this isn't back in the day, it's just a couple years ago, whatever, like, are you talking about like posting an event and saying, hey, Ryan Gass is hosting this event, RSVP or something like that?
So like Facebook has like, at least on my company page, it's no shit. Like, you can post a picture, you can post a post, you can actually post an event. You make an event, you have to put in the time, the date, the location, the website to sign up, information about the website, information about the event, all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And those would go crazy. It was nuts, man. I couldn't tell you. It was such a valuable tool. Facebook was such a valuable tool, and without even having to pay for advertising. Now, I did pay for advertising on there. I remember the first time I paid for advertising, it was the very first month I was in business in February of 15. And 16, February 16. And I remember making a post, and I paid Facebook $50 to boost it. And I was like, man, I didn't have shit for money. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. I was like, it's one of those things like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then It doesn't, but it's going to fucking hurt. Like $50.
It's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn these lessons.
Yeah. And so I put myself out there like that. And I was like, man, $50. All right, let's see. All right. And I'm telling you, I never looked back. Within 8 months, I was up to $1,000 a month. I think my biggest month ever on Facebook advertising, I spent like $1,600 on Facebook advertising. And I had no problem doing that. When I did that, I had no, oh man, like I don't know if this is going to come back. I did that knowing that it was going to come back. Mm-hmm. It was great. I used to swear by it.
Your return on investment was worth it.
Huge return on investment. Yeah.
So that was in 17, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then what happened?
Then 18, more or less. It wasn't like a distinct specific event. It was just 18 in general. That's when it slowly all went downhill. I would post before I would do, there's a lot of things I used to do that was really successful on Facebook. I used to go Facebook Live. I'd go Facebook Live and get people, they would like it, they would share it, they would comment below. I'd have up to, I think at one point on one video, I had like over 200 people watching live. People all throughout Maryland, but even outside of Maryland that were watching live and they were interacting and they were, we would do like giveaways and stuff on there. People were, to get people to engage, I would do different giveaways during these Facebook Lives, and it was just great. It really freaking was. But then, during 18, there'd be times where I would post I'd post an event, and maybe a dozen people respond to it, a dozen people like it, maybe 1 or 2 shares. I would give Facebook Live. I might in 10 minutes get like 4 or 5 people watching. It was definitely a humbling experience.
And that, I think that we've seen that all over the place. And so I remember, because Ryan, I've been following you for a few years. I've been following your growth of your company and watching you as an entrepreneur and expanding our friendship in those areas. And I remember I used to get frustrated by the amount of shit that I would see on my news feed that you were posting. I mean, because you were Facebook wild.
Yeah.
And you were using the tool for what it was there for.
Yeah.
Organic growth.
Yeah.
I tell you, you tell 10 friends, those 10 friends tell 10 friends, and before you know it, there's 100 people that know about PTP gun.
Yep.
And I'd be like, like Ryan, he's just going crazy on it, but I would always see it and I'd always hit, like or share, which is important, guys. If you're seeing this or hearing this, you got to hit like and share, because as we will get into, Facebook kills that stuff. And I used to see Ryan stuff on my newsfeed constantly. I barely see anything from you anymore.
Yeah.
And you're just as active when you can be.
Yeah.
But
I will say, to be honest, I'm not as active now because of the dampers that have been put on by Facebook. I'm not as incentivized to post anymore. I'm not incentivized to engage on their platform. I'm not as incentivized to hand them money to push my events and stuff, to push my company, because of how they've conducted business. It, had everything continued like it was, $1,600 for a month, that would have been piddly shit. I'm sure that if they had continued what they were doing and my growth was continuing, I would probably be up to $5,000 to $6,000 a month because the return was that good. But it was over almost entirely over the span of 2018. That's when it took a huge dip, and it was really, man, I had to learn. I put all my eggs in one basket. I really did. All my advertising almost entirely was through Facebook. I had a little bit with vehicles that I have that I use for my classes. I have advertisement outside of those. Did a little bit of brochures, had a few roadside signs, but that was mostly a majority of my advertisement.
Yeah,
Facebook.
You needed that organic growth. You needed to be inside people's homes with them.
Yeah,
you needed to be with them on the toilet. Yeah, right. Like we were saying, if I'm sitting on the toilet, it's dirty, whatever, but I guarantee half the people listening right now are doing the same shit. You're sitting on the toilet, you're scrolling an article, or you're looking at Facebook, or you're doing something.
Yep.
And that's how you connect with people. You want to get inside their home. That's why people run television commercials, or in the old days, radio commercials and stuff like that, because you want to get to people where they're at, not where you're at. And you cannot be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Ryan. You were saying that in your early years, 16, 17, going into 18, you were seeing, 5x, 10x return on investment on the advertisements that you were running. You were seeing organic growth. Your page was growing. Your company was growing, all this other stuff. And then one day, over a period of a few months, it just kind of fell off.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
I think that's because, one, I and my company, both, like, we were one and the same. conservative, and my company, it's firearms related. We don't sell guns. We never have. We're not getting into selling guns. We strictly do training. We do training. Almost all the training that we do is not, I guess you would say, I don't know how you want to put it, like elective training. Our training is training that is required by state or local governments in order for people to exercise their Second Amendment right. I do this training. It helps people safely and effectively and legally use firearms. And the left say, oh, yeah, you should do training. You should have to do training. If you want to own a gun, you need to do this, this, and this, blah, blah, blah. But then you have a company like mine that does that offers that service that helps people safely and effectively and legally use firearms, and then they suppress it. Like, what the fuck do you want? Do you want people to have to do this? Or do you want to say people have to do this and then make it harder for them to actually access that, service? It's so fucking frustrating. Like, because I have my company page, ptpgun.com, firearms training. I have my own personal public figure page, Ryan R. Gass. And like now, like I've been getting a lot of these new messages. Something new that started this week. When people like my page, I had somebody send me a screenshot. They go to like my page, and before they can actually physically, actually complete that liking on my page or the following my page, they get this message. It pops up on their screen. It says, about this page, information. Before you like this page, when you like a page, you'll see updates from it in your newsfeed. You may want to review Ryan Gass to see the types of content it usually shares. And that's the type of shit. Yes,
hold on now. So everybody listening, and you guys right there on Facebook Live, let me ask you a question here, okay? Over the past couple weeks since we've been building this brand and engaging with you guys, we've asked you to come and like our page. Have you seen something similar? If you're listening, go ahead and throw it in the comments right there. Ryan will be checking it out. This is crazy. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I mean, because I nilly-dilly like pages all the time. I'm in all kinds of, for my other podcasts that I do, I'm in all kinds of parenting and mindset and personal growth type stuff. When I click a parenting group or a page or a mindset group or a page, they don't ask me if I'm interested in that kind of content.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? They know I'm interested in it because I'm there. I'm liking it for a reason. I don't need a babysitter.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So, back it up. Back it up a little bit. Let's pivot because I know I got you fucking wild up right now. Let me pull this away from PTP Gun for a little bit.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about social media censoring in general. So let's go back in time a little bit. Right? We were talking about this earlier. We're talking about the AOL, Instant Messenger, and all that other stuff. In the 90s, and around 1996 to be specific, okay, there were these two court cases in New York that ended up driving to what is now known, and most of the people listening will have heard of this. It's called U.S. Code Section 230. All right? And really what that does is it's an internet business protection. Okay. And essentially what that means is if you are an internet business such as Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else where people can post their opinion to your page, then the owner of that page is protected. Right. So, and to put this into perspective, right? So if I own New York Times Magazine and Ryan Gass goes in there and starts posting like pornography or something like that, right? I'm not policing the site, so I don't know what you're posting in there. I can't be held accountable for what you post.
Right.
And let's just go on the deep end here. Assume that that pornography that they're posting isn't the good kind, right? It's the stuff that nobody wants to talk about on air.
Well, please describe what's the good kind. No, just
I do that. Okay, let's keep it relatively PG-13.
Yeah, I
right?
get what you're saying.
But coming soon, there might be some special episodes behind the in the premium section that you could check out and hear what kind of stuff that Ryan likes to drive down the road listening to. Yeah, so I know that's the reason you got to lift a truck. Anyways, so back in 1996, there were these two New York case laws that kind of drove Section 230. Okay. And what it was for was to protect these internet companies from being held liable for anything that was posted on them. And I'm going to just kind of put this out there, right? So essentially what that did was it gave blanket protection for companies like Facebook or Instagram or anything else to allow people to come on their page and post it as long as it didn't commit a federal crime. So if you were doing murder for hire or child pornography, the stuff I said I was going to talk about, if you were doing that, if you were doing terrorist activities, things like that, right, you could be held liable to an extent.
Right.
And again, not really going to talk about it on here, but there's a pretty popular adult website right now that just was called in front of Congress recently because of some of the stuff that somebody discovered on one of their sites. All right. And so they're being held accountable for it. The problem with this Section 230, man, is that it's so broad that if I say, okay, Ryan, I need you to start watching for this, right? But I don't say you need to start watching for that, then it's up to your discretion, right? So then the babysitting is the onus of it, and the way that it is managed is on you. So, for instance, let's assume that you created a social media platform and a whole lot of people jumped on there and everybody was talking, and this thing grew to like 100 billion people. And then out of those 100 billion people, there was like a pocket that emerged that wanted to talk about politics and a brand of politics that you didn't agree with. You have the power to just blanket that off and suppress it.
And a lot of them exercise that.
And let's talk about being suppressed, right? So if I were to go and like, say, a certain political candidate that maybe is leaning one way or the other, and I go to like his page, am I going to get an alert like that? Like, hey, this congressman supported this act, this act, this act. Are you sure you want to like that page? Maybe you should review beforehand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't give a fuck about you, Ryan, because I do.
Yeah.
I don't really care about Tom, Dick, and Harry, man. You know, like people were able to advertise their company very successfully before Facebook came around, right? It's just another tool.
Yeah.
If that tool's taken away from you, find something else, all right? Learn how to be innovative and creative. And I don't want to always come off as a guy that's against the corporations and the business guys, right? Like, do your best to play within the rules. The problem is when those rules start changing. And let me speak to that just a little bit. I have no affiliation with anybody. Right. And I recently, I got into this podcast industry and I like sharing stuff. I like getting my message out there. I recently got banned and I don't even know how. I don't know how, man. I talk about social issues like foster parenting or mindset stuff or ways to deal with stress or way to be a better parent or all this other shit. That's kind of what my other podcast is, different than this. And that's all I share. Well, I went to like boost an ad the other day and it said, your profile's restricted. I said, well, okay, I'm cool. Like, let's work through this. Let me figure out why it was restricted so I can make sure that doesn't happen again. But you know what you get when you ask questions?
Nothing. You
get nothing. You click the button and it goes through some bot. So like the whole system is so freaking messed up, man. Like you can't, like once you're ghosted, you're ghosted. There's no fixing it.
It's referred to as shadow banned.
Shadow banned.
That's the official term and stuff. There's been actually congressional hearings on that. It
got so crazy, Ryan. Like I'm trying to fix it. This is my brand, right? Yeah. And I'm new. I've only been at this for a short amount of time. Like I don't want to be like kicked out of this shit right away. So I'm like, okay, what do I have to do to fix this? You know what I ended up having to do? I had to take photocopies of my driver's license and send it to them and do an identity verification, right?
Yep.
It's crazy, man. And so anyways, Section 230, that's kind of where it started from as a way to prevent these big corporations from being held liable for certain content that was posted on their page.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So why are they really implementing or why are they really injecting themselves where
it's a personal agenda?
It's a personal agenda.
Yeah.
And when you have companies that are so big, okay, everybody, I'm going to tell you, man, I need to pull the number on this, but there are so many percentage of the world that are on social media. Yeah. In fact, today or yesterday, Australia, this is a big story. Australia, Facebook essentially, and Google are banned from posting, or they're not banned. They basically banned Australians from posting news from Australia for Australians. So if you're an Australian and you want to share a news article on Facebook, you're not allowed to.
Why is that?
I have no. I tell you why. It's because Facebook didn't want to go through the rabbit holes of validating the shit that's propagated on their platform as being factual. So Australia is really trying to kill this whole fake news stuff, right? And they're saying, okay, if you're going to be a guy that posts news and claims it as factual, somebody has to babysit that. Somebody actually has to do that fact checking. And Facebook said, well, we're not going to do that. So instead of working with, and I actually had the news pulled up on this. Yeah, it actually got so bad. And here's the story. Okay, so Facebook announced on Thursday, today, that it has blocked Australians from viewing and sharing news on the platform because of proposed laws in the country to make digital giants pay for journalism. So who's a digital giant? Facebook. Right?
Yeah.
And Australia wants them to pay like a journalism tax or something like that. And really what it goes against is they say, okay, well, we're not a source of truth. We're not a journalist. We are biased, right? Because journalism is supposed to be unbiased delivery of the facts. Supposed to be, right? Check your bias at the door, right? Facebook says that's not us, okay? So instead of us conforming to what could be considered ethics and laws surrounding journalism, we're just going to not allow Australians to play in the playground anymore. They're going to take their ball and go home. Now, Google, on the other hand, who is huge and does want to serve the entire planet, they're in talks with Australia, right? They're doing their bit. They're making sure that happens. And it's not just Google, it's their parent company, Alphabet. But essentially what this does is Australian publishers can continue to publish news content on Facebook, but links and posts can't be viewed or shared by Australian audiences. So that means, Ryan, you're over in Perth or in Sydney or something like that, and you want to post some news related to Australia, sweet, you can do it. And if I'm your friend in America, I could look at that news, but your buddy down the street can't. And I don't understand how that works or anything like that, but it's just another case of a company that is too big to fail starting to censor stuff.
Yep. And
they censored you, right? They took away what is essentially a market stream, a profit stream from you.
Yeah.
They censored freaking Mike Bell, and I'm nobody, right? Like, why would they censor me? Censored me. They censored basically the entire country of Australia. Who else did they censor recently?
I mean, the list is too long.
Over 70,000 people I saw. And guys, remember, this is called right of center because Ryan and I generally fall on the right of the center, but we don't necessarily back any strong side, the Republican or the liberal side of the aisle, right?
Right.
But there were 70,000 classified Republicans that identified themselves as Republicans that have recently been silenced and have left Facebook, right? And then where did they go? They went to Parler.
Tried.
Right? Well, they did.
Yeah.
Right? And then what happened to Parler?
Google and Apple ripped them down.
Google, Apple, Amazon,
yep.
All of these big places essentially killed them. And here's the thing, guys. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, if you're conservative or you're liberal. I don't care who you are. As long as you're not spreading hate speech or endangering the lives of children, man, you say whatever the hell you want. Yep. And as somebody really close to me used to always say, right, you can call me whatever you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, you can say whatever you want. And if you're a Democrat, I support your right to do that.
Yep.
You know, if you're a Republican, I support your right to do that. But it's really easy for the left to point the finger at all of those guys that left that were shadow banned and went to Parler and then got Parler taken out from underneath them, right? It's real easy for the left to point at them and say, well, why don't you guys just build your own social media? Why don't you guys just build your own fucking Google?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's one of those arguments. It's like, oh, you're ugly. Oh, no, I'm not. It's like, what? You know, oh, sticks and stones, right? It's like, it's such a childish argument. Yeah, I can't even support you when you say stuff like that. You know, I want to come to the argument or the conversation with intentions, well-intentioned and hopeful, and ways to be able to build out past that. And when somebody comes up and says some shit like, well, why don't you go build your own Google? It's like, you know, if the shoe was on the other foot, and the analogy I'm going to use here is this. If it would have been Joe Biden that was censored,
mm-hmm.
If it would have been Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi or
Could you imagine?
any of those other people that were censored, this entire conversation would be a lot different right now.
Totally
brother.
different.
It'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
And it's because the left tends to be a little bit more aggressive, right? They are the kid that got their hand slapped, and instead of retreating back to like their bedroom and being like, all right, I learned my lesson, I'm not going to touch the fire anymore. They go and they just tilt the fucking stove over, right? And that's that. Okay. There's a place for that in this country for well-intended activities. But when you're doing that shit, if Nancy Pelosi would have got censored, man, they would have been burning down the fucking streets.
Literally.
Right? When Trump got censored, bad shit did happen. Right? And we're not going to get in. I would prefer, Ryan, if we didn't jump into that in this episode. Right? That's something different. That is still raw. There were lives that were lost recently because of some shit that happened. And there is an association with the former presidency. I don't think we have all the facts yet.
Right.
I can't really talk to that. All right. It was a terrible fucking thing that happened. If the shoe would have been on the different foot, how many cabs do you think would have been burnt? How many courthouses do you think would have been taken over? How many blocks of Seattle would have been cordoned off? Right? How many National Guard members or police members or somebody like that would have had to have gotten involved because a left-leaning political party was censored?
Yep.
It'd be a whole fucking different story, man.
Totally different.
And that is why us as Americans, us in middle America, Ryan, me and you, man, we can't just sit here and think that it only happens at the highest level. It only happens to people like President Trump. No, guys, it happens to us.
Yeah.
It happens to me.
Yeah.
I'm a day-to-day worker, right? Like I have a job, I work, I have kids, I coach football whenever my kids are in the sports. Like I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah.
I'm getting censored.
Yep.
Ryan, a guy that's just trying to provide for his family, doing a job that is mandated by the state of Maryland. You're just doing your job. You're censored. President Trump was censored. Everybody's getting censored. Why is that? What do you think, Ryan?
Dude, it's so damn frustrating. I mean, and then, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, not that I take pleasure in it, but it's nice to have somebody else that I respect and I think that is a sound mind seeing firsthand and realizing what I've been going through for the last 2-3 years.
You talking about me?
Yeah. Yeah, no, so seriously, I tell people all the time and they're like, oh yeah, whatever, you know. But like now it's like it's kind of like every time I hear you say something like, "Oh yeah, they're doing this to me today. They're censoring this and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, well, welcome to the fucking club." You know, I've been here for like 2 years or 2 to 3 years now, and it's just frustrating every day. Like the goalpost is they're always like, "Oh, here's the goalpost," and then you meet that goalpost, and they're like, "Oh no, wait, we moved it yesterday. You know, here it is over here. Oh wait, you're getting banned. You know, because you did something. What was that something? Well, we don't know.
Read our policy.
Yeah, read our policy.
Well, where's your policy at?
Yeah,
you can't find it.
I'm sure you've probably seen this a couple times recently where they say something about like, you have been restricted because you have done this. Agree or disagree? And then you whatever you put, it doesn't matter. They're just like, okay, have a nice day. And like this, you know, I always put disagree to decision. Like, no, I don't. What are you talking about? But it's just so frustrating. Like they, and they. It's so, yeah, I mean, like you said, like, you know, you try to go to somewhere else, you try to make something else for yourself and stuff, and people try to do it with Parler, and they had millions of people within a couple of weeks join, only to have it taken right out from underneath them. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's kind of dumb that Parler were to build, kind of sound like, I'm not an expert on this, but from what it looks like, they built their platform based on servers provided by Amazon. Why the fuck are you going to build it based on that? You knew they can take that program. You got to be completely, if you're going to start something, you got to start something that's completely independent of all of them.
It depends on why Parler was started. You know, was Parler, because you're kind of supporting the left's agenda when you say stuff like that, Ryan.
What I mean by that is I'm not going to ask Warren Buffett to finance my company and expect that, you know, he's going to follow my. Then I'm at the whim of Warren Buffett. What you're
saying is that Parler was not. What you're saying is that Parler knew the kind of people that they were going to attract, right? It's like right now, Ryan. We're trying to get people over on MeWe to use that, and I posted something on Facebook, and one of my guys was like, "Yep, this looks like it's all for the Chinese and all for right-wing activists. I'm not joining." It's like, well, it's not that.
Yeah.
Right? And if what you're saying is like, okay, Parler put their servers on Amazon. Dude, Amazon it's so much more than just the little thingy on your phone that you click to order diapers, dude.
Yeah.
It's like they own massive data centers across the country.
Yeah.
Like they're global, brother. And it's AWS, Amazon Web Services. That's a place where people buy servers.
Yeah.
Or server space, I should say.
I'm saying,
right?
can someone buy their? I asked this legit because I don't know. Could a parlor type thing buy their own servers and be completely independent? I understand that they still have to work to be on Apple app service and the Google Play Store and stuff, but the server itself, can they be independent, completely independent from anyone else like Amazon or anything like that?
Hey guys, we're going to have to break it right here. I know you guys are right in the middle of this, but we got some bandwidth issues. Rest assured, part 2 is coming out immediately after part 1. You don't have to wait around for it. Just leave this and go and pick up episode 2.
Yep, see you guys over there. Download part 2 now.